Hi, welcome back to PC Builder. I'm Jason, and welcome to this month's GPU market update and GPU price update. And I recommend you sit down for this one and maybe pour yourself a drink, because this might be a little rough. Now, there's been a huge shift in the market dynamics that we were all hoping wouldn't happen, but it did. And if it holds, and of course there's no guarantee in this volatile GPU market, this shift could drive GPU prices back up in the short term, crushing the hopes of GPUs going back down to MSRP by Black Friday. Now, we're going to go over what's driving this market shift, what the long-term outlook is, and what your options are to get a gaming PC build right now. If you get value out of this video, please give it a like. And as I'm filming this, we're about to hit 50,000 subscribers. So join us by subscribing and clicking the bell icon to get notified of new content. And with that, let's jump into it. All right, before we jump into the market as a whole, let's first address the RX 6600 XT, because I think this is actually an important market development. The card just launched this week. I haven't said much about it. People are asking my opinion. Here it is in a nutshell. Basically, AMD is releasing a cut down version of the 5700 XT with 10% more performance. When I say cut down, I mean the die size is smaller, so they'll be able to manufacture more dies. And if they honestly just called this a reintroduction of the 5700 XT, smaller die size, and promise more production of it, 10% more performance for about the same MSRP, I think it would have been received a lot better. But because they gave it a new card number on RX 6600 XT, and they marketed it, I don't know why, as a 1080p card, that I thought was really bad on their behalf. We're all expecting much better things because it's been 2 years since the 5700 XT has been introduced. You can see here, Tech Power Up, in their testing, they found that the 6600 XT had 10% more performance at all resolutions. Normally you'd say, hey, that's great. There's some other problems with the card I don't like. I don't like that it's only a by 8 card. That hurts PCIe 3.0 users. There's a small but measurable performance difference. I don't think that's fair. I don't know why they did that. I wouldn't have done it. I'm just not entirely happy about it, but it did launch with a certain amount of volume, probably better than any graphics card has launched in the last year, which, look, I know that's not saying much, right? We've had some super paper duds out there, but as I'm saying this right now, as I'm recording this, you can still go to a Micro Center and they still got 10 in stock of the Power Color Hellhound. That's a slightly more expensive variant of it, but they've also got some of the Power Color Fighters, which is the $379 version. And Newegg, until early AM this morning, you could still, as part of a motherboard bundle. Now, these motherboard bundles were weird. They're B450 boards and an A520 board. I would have gone for it. You could still get these at MSRP with a $10 discount with the combo. That would have been fine, right? I think most people would be fine ending up with a B450 board, especially if this is for a more budget-oriented rig. You throw an R3 3300X, which is back in stock, by the way, in there, and you could have a really nice little gaming PC put together. But they did just go out of stock earlier this morning as I was recording this. I do expect them to have some stock here. However, I will note the miners that I follow are all talking about this card, the 6600 XT, as a really good mining one. And that's going to tie in to when we get to the bad news about the GPU market. So overall, look, people are comparing it to the 3060. Where have you been able to get a 3060 at MSRP, just being able to actually buy it on the website or go into a store and get one, unless you live in Taiwan, basically, where they actually have them in stock because they manufacture them there. You just haven't been able to do it. So on that front, I have no problem with the 6600 XT. I think from a long-term perspective, I don't like the price inflation either. I'm just taking into account that we're in the worst market ever in the history of GPUs. So, given those external circumstances, yeah, I would actually recommend that you go ahead and buy one of these if you need a graphics card right now. If yours died, if you have to put a system together, those kind of, if you need one for work, etc. I would take a look at one of these. Now let's take a look at the secondary market and where that's going. So this is eBay, Craigslist, that kind of stuff. All this data comes from Tom's Hardware and their tracking of cards on eBay. They do it every 2 weeks. So last time we took a look at this, cards were coming down pretty rapidly, anywhere from 15 to 19% over that period. However, that has slowed dramatically. We can see right here the RTX 3090. In late June, we left it at 2580. it's currently in mid-August, 6 weeks later, not a month later, but actually 6 weeks later, it's at 23.41. It's come down, about 9%. But other cards have slowed down substantially from there. The one card that actually continues to come down pretty quickly is the 3060 Ti. And I know a lot of people are going to be happy about that because they want to get a 3060 Ti. The problem with the 3060 Ti, it's still not a lot of volume because remember, it's a cut down 3070. And right now, most of those 3070s are getting high yields out of them. So there's a lot less of the cut down ones that are effectively just defect for the 3070s. But that card is coming down about 13%. However, some of the cards have gone up. And you're like, what do you mean they've gone up? Yeah, the 3070 itself, the vanilla 3070, has gone up 1.2%. The Radeon RX 6800 and 6700 XT have both gone up by about 5 or 6% themselves, gone up by 5 or 6%, while the other cards continue to fall. Now, people are asking, well, wait a second, Jason. I thought that mining was dead. I thought that everything was going in the right direction. And the months to MSRP that you talked about in your last video from over a month ago was, hey, maybe 3 to 5 months. And yes, it was going to be 3 to 5 months as long as the market dynamics held. Unfortunately, some of those market dynamics have not held. Let's jump into them. Here's the bad news. Ethereum, the GPU mineable currency that has driven miners to eat up graphics card like a swarm of locusts willing to pay any amount for these graphics cards far in excess of what any gamer, or just about any gamer, is willing to pay, is back up. So when last we checked on Ethereum, it had spiked in May to about $4,100 and fallen to nearly half of that, actually less than half of that, to about $1,700 in late July. And as long as the price of Ethereum and the profitability of mining remained at that level, GPU availability for gamers was looking better, and the cards were beginning to approach a price that gamers were going to be willing to pay. Maybe not the MSRP, but maybe closer to the MSRP. Sadly, the price, as I'm doing this video right now, is all the way up to almost $3,300. I'm sure if I hit refresh, it's going to go up by at least a couple more bucks in the last 5 minutes since I've refreshed this. And mining profitability is soaring right now. What in the heck happened? Why is this happening? Well, remember EIP 1559. Some of you are like, I don't know what the heck that means. EIP 1559 is part of Ethereum's move from what's called proof of work, where it's GPU mineable, to what's called proof of stake, where it's no longer going to be GPU mineable. This changed the way that the transaction fees work so that rather than a lot of them going to the miners, they're going to reduce overall fees. Think of it every time you use your Visa or MasterCard. Visa or MasterCard they take a cut from the retailer, right? They take a transaction fee. Same thing with the miners every time they process a transaction. This was actually going to take part of that fee, and rather than it going to the miners, they were going to burn it, like literally lighting it on fire. And it was going to reduce significantly the rate of inflation of Ethereum. Well, it did that. Miners were going to lose 15 to 20% per transaction on the transaction fees, and they have. But the problem is because Ethereum, it's not gone deflationary. I know people keep throwing that term around, but the rate of inflation for Ethereum has reduced so much, that's what's skyrocketing the price right now. Additionally, Ethereum and Bitcoin, even though Bitcoin's not GPU mineable, they track almost 1-to-1 in terms of every time Bitcoin's up, Ethereum follows. That's going on right now, and Bitcoin is up as I'm doing this right now, up to 46,000. So it's spiked as well. So what's going on right now is that, unfortunately, mining profitability, rather than going down as a result of EIP 1559, which is what we were all hoping would happen, has actually skyrocketed. And if you look at the profitability of an RTX 3090 right now on a per day basis, it was at $6.48 a month ago. It's now $8.53 now. That is a 30% increase in profitability. And a lot of miners are saying, hey, profits are going back up. Ethereum seems like it's taking off. So whatever Ethereum I mine now, yes, I'm getting $8.53 at the current value of Ethereum. But if it keeps going up, I'm holding that Ethereum and it's going to go up in value. So I'm actually going to be getting even more money. I'm going to go out and start buying graphics cards. And all the miners that I follow, all the kind of mining thought leaders out there, are telling people right now, go buy GPUs. Go buy GPUs. Yes, it's a it's a little bit of a risk because Ethereum is going to proof of stake, and we'll get there in a second when we talk about how do we finally get out of this GPU crisis. It is coming. The end is coming. But right now, at least, a lot of miners are saying, go buy GPUs. Let's crank this thing up again. Whereas before, because of the price crash for Ethereum, they were all holding. So what's keeping the price from absolutely skyrocketing right now is that miners are coming back on the network, and the difficulty of mining Ethereum is going up. Ethereum has a built-in difficulty. The more people that are on the network, the harder the algorithm makes it to mine a block of Ethereum because it doesn't want to superinflate the currency. It's a pretty smart little thing. And you can see where the Chinese authorities crack down on GPU mining in China because they're having energy problems over there with their factories running 24/7. What do factories need? Factories need energy. What do GPUs eat? Especially when you've got these warehouses where thousands or tens of thousands of GPUs are mining. Well, they eat a lot of energy. So the Chinese said, yeah, screw that. Let's get rid of those things because those don't really benefit our economy the same way that factories do. So they went out and they absolutely crushed the mining difficulty right here because all that mining hash power came off the network. Well, that mining hash power now has been relocated to other countries, to other provinces in China where the crackdown is not happening. And the difficulty is almost back at its high of 8,000. It's currently running at 7,753, which is pretty close to 8,000. So the difficulty is one of the things that is holding back the overall profitability. But I'm telling you this right now, if Ethereum continues to massively increase, miners are going to start paying any price, and we're going to see those GPU prices come right back up. Now, there is some good news. Let's go over the good news. One thing is written by Tom of Moore's Law is Dead. And by the way, if you don't subscribe to his channel, I don't always agree with everything he says, but he's a smart guy. He's well connected. You should definitely listen and consider the things he's saying. He's saying that his sources are all telling him that NVIDIA is planning to flood the market with RTX 3060s, that they've been stockpiling for AMD to launch the 6600 XT, and they, at least temporarily, are going to flood the market with 3060s. So that's one potential offset. The other potential offset right now is that the Polaris cards, that's the RX 570, 580, maybe the 590, I doubt it, probably the 580 and the 570, are coming back into production. Well, why is that? Well, AMD we don't know exactly where these Polaris chips are, if they're currently manufacturing. They're 14 nanometers, so they don't really compete with AMD's other products, but they are coming back in stock. There's big plans, apparently, both reported by Tom of Moore's Law is Dead, but also you can just find them now. So for instance, this CyberPower gaming PC with an RX 570, this is one of the ones I recommended Black Friday 2020 is a great deal. I recommended it in my January best pre-builds, and then immediately went out of stock, as did most of the 570s and 580s. They were completely gone in terms of new cards. You could still find a handful of them, but they were mostly gone because card manufacturers, with a limited supply of things like capacitors and other components, were prioritizing the high-value cards, the AMD 6000 lineup and the Radeon RTX 3000 series lineup. Well, this is suddenly back in stock as of a couple of days ago. And in fact, I've got it listed on my best pre-built gaming PC video in the description. I always list out the best deals. I change that out every couple of days just to make sure it's current. I'll leave a link to that video up in the card if you want to check it out. But this is back. Why is it back? Because RX 570s are clearly back in production, at least going to system integrators, if not the DIY PC market itself. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that. So there is potentially a nice influx of supply coming, including with the 6600 XT, if AMD can keep up the heavier production of that, given the fact that it uses a significantly smaller die size than any of the previous RX 6000 series lineup. So those are some of the market dynamics kind of fighting themselves right now, and it's really leading us to this kind of big swirl of uncertainty as to where this is going to go. So how do you decide whether to buy now or to wait? Here's the simple fact. This is all not going to change, this crazy market, until we get to Ethereum 2.0. What is Ethereum 2.0? It's the point at which Ethereum is no longer GPU mineable and it moves to something that's called proof of stake. Right now we're in proof of work. Not going to get into that. Lots of videos, very long videos on what all that exactly means. But for you as a gamer who just wants to buy a freaking gaming graphics card and wants to buy it at not extortionist giant prices, effectively, the date for that has been set in December for it to transition. Now, they could push this date. They've pushed a lot of dates with Ethereum before. I would not set my watch by it. I would not think of it as some date that's set in stone. But as Ethereum has moved closer and closer to proof of stake, I feel like they have gotten better at holding to some of these deadlines, especially as some of these major financial players have gotten involved, and Ethereum has become a big deal. A couple years ago, when they were missing deadlines and Ethereum wasn't as big of a deal, they could do that. Now they've got serious financial players involved that these people don't mess around. And Ethereum 2.0 is going to significantly increase the value of Ethereum because it will become even less inflationary than it is now. So when does that happen? Well, right now it's projected for December. It could move to the first quarter of 2021, but let's say it's going to be January. That means we got another 3.5 months to wait out this insane, crazy market. But Jason, there's all these other coins out there. How do we know that Ethereum moving to proof of stake and not being GPU mineable is going to solve all our problems? Well, here's why. Right now, we look at the market cap. That means all the total value of all the Ethereum out there. It is $381 billion right now at the current valuation. What is the next largest GPU mineable currency? Well, let's go to Ravencoin. Maybe you heard of Ravencoin. 1.4 billion. Remember, 381 billion, 1.4 billion. Okay, what about this Ergo thing that a lot of people have been talking about? 360 million, not billion, 360 million. Well, what about Ethereum Classic? 8.5 billion, not 3. Again, we can go down the list, and the size of Ethereum is so massive compared to all the other coins put together that what's going to happen when Ethereum moves to proof of stake is all the miners out there that think that they're going to go mine something else, they're going to crush all of these other currencies. There's just too much hashing power out there that's already on Ethereum that will have no place else to go. Think of it like a swarm of locusts. After they eat up this giant field, there's a couple tiny fields out there. Well, how long is it going to take those locusts to wipe those out? And then the locusts have nothing to do. And I don't mean that, to compare miners with locusts, but that's kind of, they've been eating up GPUs at that rate. So once that mining is done, a lot of those GPUs will probably start being sold off on the secondary market so they can recoup their value. I'm not saying mining is going to go away. It's certainly not going to go away, but it's going to go through a very large transition and a very large bottleneck, and that should lead to a much better market for gamers. So should you buy now or should you wait? Well, obviously, if your graphics card is busted, if you need it for work, if you're building a PC to go off to college or something right now, and you got to build it right now, yeah, I'm going to go through a couple ways you can get a graphics card right now. Everybody else, if you can afford to wait, I would recommend waiting at this point, because I think we're getting closer and closer to a period of time where graphics cards are going to start to come back to sanity because of the changes to Ethereum mining. But I think in the interim, the prices are going to go up, not down necessarily. I know that seems counterintuitive, but prices are probably going to spike up a little bit, and then Ethereum's going to go away. So let's take a look at, if you're going to get a graphics card right now, what are your best options? Well, Newegg Shuffle, obviously, absolutely free to register. Yeah, you got to put up with the combo deals. I wouldn't buy any of your other components in terms of motherboard, memory, or power supply until you get a graphics card if you're going to build right now. And I would definitely use Newegg Shuffle. I've registered for this, I think, 30 days in a row now, or the last 30, and I haven't won anything recently. I'm becoming a little frustrated with it, but what can you do, right? The other thing that you can do right now in stock, if you got a Micro Center near you, go out and buy an RX 6600 XT or 6700 XT. Now the 6700 XT they're selling for, I think, way too much. But listen, again, if you got to build it now, you got to pay the piper, right? But the 6600 XT, given the performance level of a 5700 XT, if they suddenly introduced a whole lot of 5700 XTs for $379, you'd go buy one, right? Well, same thing with a 6600 XT. I would go buy this in this market right now. The other thing, of course, you can take a look at is at Newegg. They do have the 6700 XTs and 6800 XTs in stock for about $800. Yeah, it's a lot of money. Recently, I think there was one here for $750 on sale. So they do actually put these on sale. And listen, this is probably a 4K capable card. I'd say 1440p gaming, but can certainly push 4K in a lot of different games, not all of them. So it is something to take a look at if you need something now. Remember, if you need something now, if you can afford to wait, I'm recommending that you do wait. Right now, they still have one of the combos that I was talking about before, which is the RTX 2060 and a power supply combo for $534 after rebate. That makes the card cost about $440. It's not worth it any longer, I think, for these combos. I just want to drop that in here. I'll leave a link to it down there if you need an RTX card because you're going to do video editing or something like that. But I would recommend at this point going with the 6600 XT because they're better value than these bundles that have been available at Newegg. Most of the 1660 Super ones and 1650 Super ones have evaporated. They're out of stock now. Again, I'll leave links to them down in the description if you want to check them out because those might be worth it still. And then what are your other options? Well, really, you can buy a pre-built. And the cost of pre-builts, I will say this, I monitor the pre-built market very closely. I have my newest pre-built, best pre-built gaming PC video just came out. I maintain a list in the description of this of all the best deals. I update every 2 days. If you don't want to take my recommendations, fine. Take somebody else's recommendations. But the cost of these is coming down quite significantly by at least a couple $100 on some of these models. And we're seeing them become more and more reasonable. And certainly it's much more reasonable than trying to build your own PC right now. I know that's that's the world turned upside down, but that's just the way it's been for the last 10 months. Alternatively, the other thing I'd recommend is gaming laptops, especially if you decided that hey, it's summertime, it's fall, you want to get out, you want to take your PC with you, maybe you're going off to college, maybe you need that portability. Gaming laptops have come a long way in the last 2 years. Again, I've got a best gaming laptops video. I'll leave in the card right there. I'm going to update this maybe in a month or so. So, subscribe for that. But that's another option for you. And they're actually pretty well priced, especially since they come with a screen. You don't have to buy anything else. You can game just with that. Obviously, you want a keyboard and mouse probably. Then, of course, we've got stock checking channels. Now, I was big on this earlier. I will tell you this, just given how much the price inflation has crept up around the quote-unquote MSRP, around the actual price that retailers are selling it at, I don't think that this is the best method anymore. Certainly, if you want to leave this in your browser open with the alarms on and you want to jump in there and try and get some of this stuff, go ahead. But remember, most retailers now have jacked their prices up. So it's not like you're jumping in there to buy a 3060 at $329. You're probably going to find it more like $450 or $500. So it kind of reduces some of the savings. For a couple $100 more, you could buy it off of Newegg or somebody like that, a third-party seller on Newegg or Amazon, and at least be able to have the protection of being able to return it. So those are your options right now if you want to build your own PC or you just want to get gaming right away. Obviously, if you want to build your own PC, my recommendation is go ahead and wait. If you want to buy a pre-built, want to buy a laptop, it's still a great time to actually do that. I don't see those prices coming down significantly anytime soon. So those are your options right now. Good luck out there. So that's this month's update for GPU market and GPU prices. Hopefully they will go back to MSRP one day, just not today. Of course, if you liked the video, if you got value, remember to give it a like and subscribe and click the bell icon. We're almost at 50,000. Come join us. That's going to do it for today, and I'll catch you on the next one.